There we go. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Engineers Without Filters podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Thompson, and tonight I'm just going back to basics, the good old Bat Blue.
Hey, that's what I was rocking for the last 3 weeks.
Can't hate on a classic. I'm Joseph DeGrandchamp, and I'm once again drinking Rupture Fresh Grind IPA.
I'm Gabe Toman, and I've got the Oberon Ale before it goes out of circulation for the fall/winter.
Feels bad, man.
Always a classic.
And I'm Dayton, and I'm drinking Chex Mix. That's right. Chex Mix.
Oh my god.
It is
So,
You gotta
it is a
describe
beer.
the can.
The beer label is like it's like the food Chex Mix, except instead of like Chex like CHEX, it is CZECH. So
Like the Czech Republic.
yeah,
Chex
exactly,
Mix.
and it's styled exactly like Chex Mix.
that's gotta be copyright infringement.
It's gotta
Nah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's
Where'd you
pretty-
even get that?
Some guy in an
the beer
alley.
store.
That's hilarious, dude. Holy shit.
I don't even know who brews it.
The Czech Republic, probably.
Back East Brewing. Oh, it's in Connecticut. Oh, okay.
There you go.
More you know.
Well, welcome to episode 40 of the podcast. As I say every week, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at EWF Podcast. And you can find episodes of the podcast every Monday on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. We're going to start this week again with another BuzzFeed quiz. That was fun last week. And I found a little short one here.
It's
Simple
more
question.
important than ever.
A simple question that everyone has on their minds all the time. Are you a fruit or a vegetable?
No, it's veggie, not vegetable.
Big
Veggie. I'm
difference.
sorry, Joseph.
Big difference.
You're right.
Yeah. Get it
So,
together.
let's just crank this out, Question number 1, sweet or savory?
Savory.
Sweet.
All the way. Give me that salty goodness,
I'm a
Like-
savory kind of guy.
Well, I'm on sweet, so you gotta pick sweet so I don't feel left out.
Yeah, I have a sweet tooth, so I'll go sweet.
So you should make Gabe feel like a piece of shit.
Number 2, singer or dancer? You guys already know what I am. I'm that dancing baby. Let's go.
I don't know.
I'm gonna pick the lesser of two evils on this one and go singer.
I think I'm gonna go dancer as well. Just
Oh, I'm a dancer.
All right.
Gabe, I've never heard you sing in my entire
But I
life.
don't dance. That's the thing.
That is true. He doesn't dance.
Yeah, you also don't dance.
I'd much rather.
I feel like we're all... Go ahead.
I said I'd much rather just like do a shitty version of a song than try and dance.
Yes. I feel like in this next one we're all going to be on the same page, but summer or winter?
winter.
Winter. Yeah.
Fall or spring?
Oh, fall.
Gotta be fall.
Fall. Easy.
Gotta get that pumpkin spice, baby.
Spice. Get fucking hard.
Smoothie or milkshake?
Oh,
Gonna be honest, I really don't like smoothies that much. I feel like they never taste as good as I want them to.
the
We're going
consistency
milkshake.
is fucked.
It's a good idea, but you end up with seeds in your teeth most of the
Exactly.
time, and it's
Like it can be done right if depending on the smoothie, but
Well, I think just I have to choose smoothie.
Yeah, you don't really have a choice
Yeah.
there,
yeah.
but... And
That's
last
okay,
question,
smoothie's alright.
single or taken?
Is this like what I want or what I am? Those are two very different questions.
All right.
All right.
So I'm a vegetable. I'm calm and loving.
That's what I am.
Same.
I'm a vegetable too.
I feel like I picked some different ones than you guys.
You
know?
pick, yeah.
I picked
There
savory
was-
and singer, or sweet and singer. Like the first two were different.
BuzzFeed, they just it knows we're all 4 white guys, and it's just like these guys are fucking veggies.
We know
So
they're
the-
vegetables.
The
I don't know, I
top
feel like-
comment on this quiz right now, it says veggie exclamation mark, you're a vegetable, you're calm and loving, and it says bish, bish,
Yeah,
bish, please, I hate half the kids in my school and I scream when people annoy me.
What the
Oh
You
hell?
my
could tell
God.
it's a high school girl.
Yikes.
She's probably a
Fucking
social justice
yikes.
warrior or something.
Bish, please.
Bish, please. I could
I like the
totally,
next comment. I'm a fruit. Like, that's the whole comment.
No elaboration, just
No.
the facts.
So
Hey,
I
they're a
love that about
straight
you,
shooter,
thank you.
all right?
Thank you,
Someone's
Hallie
like,
Houston Brown.
I want to comment on this.
I wish that you could reply to comments. That'd be good.
Oh, can you not? What the fuck?
No, you can only
only
favor,
like 'em?
heart them. It's not like, it's heart.
Oh, okay. Well, Twitter's
Remember-
likes are hearts now.
Well, remember, it used to be favorites
It used to be
on Twitter,
favorites.
which didn't make any fucking sense.
I don't know. I remember being a little weirded out that the star went away and they replaced it with that heart.
All right, let's get into our first topic. Dayton, this is all you, so why don't you intro it?
Okay. So I've known about these for a while. I've talked with them. I've talked about them with some of their friends in the past.
Condoms?
And
Ghosts.
yeah, condoms. Different
Ghosts.
types of like how ghosts wear condoms. Like, how does that even work? It's just something that was deeply perplexing me in this Spooktober evening.
So let's talk about it for an hour.
Yeah. No. So the actual topic is blue zones, and for the listeners who don't know what blue zones are, is they're basically isolated communities who live longer than
You guys hear
usual.
that?
Yes, you did, Gabe.
Gabe just ripped a nasty fart. And you can all hear it.
I honestly
I can
don't-
smell it from Minnesota, you piece of shit.
It isn't gonna be picked up on this mic, but I'm using the webcam mic for this, so you guys.
Oh, I fucking heard it.
Loud
I
and
can
clear. And then I
definitely
saw your face of horror. Like, did anybody hear that?
Oh
But
my
anyway, back to the scheduled programming. Gabe. Yeah, so blue zones, these people tend to live a lot longer than usual in these communities, and they're all over the place. Like, there's some who are in the Cyprus area. There's some in, I think, probably China or Asia.
There's one in California.
Yeah, in California. So it's
I
not
have
just.
it. Let's see.
You have it pulled up right now, Joseph?
I do. So there's Sardinia, Italy, which is an island off the coast of Italy. The islands of Okinawa, Japan. Loma Linda, California. Nicoya Peninsula, Costa Rica. And Ikaria, Greece. Or Isaria. I think it's Ikaria, but something like that.
Yeah,
So-
so I mean they're spread all around the world. They're not just localized to one specific continent or country. And
Or equatorial distance, even.
Yep. So it's not something that's just an environmental factor.
Hmm.
And I found that pretty interesting. I mean, I'm not really looking far in the future to say I want to live until I'm 110 or whatever like that. But I think it's interesting because it also improves the quality of life. So it's not just these people who are in the blue zones aren't just living longer. They're also a lot happier, and tend to have just more satisfaction in life than non-blue zone people. So have
And
you
that's the
guys-
question, is that the reason they're living longer?
Right.
The mental part of it.
Right. And there's a whole bunch of factors attributed to why these people are living longer, except it's hard to tell which one nails down really what makes them live longer.
Right. Yeah, I mean, on Wikipedia, there's a list of different things. I think some of the common themes were, sense of community. The one that I noticed was lower alcohol intake, and and there's generally some form of religion or spirituality, I think.
Yeah, and the other thing is that there's also a decent amount of vegetarians there as well.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's a big thing.
So
Ooh,
it's
interesting.
really interesting. To me, the most interesting part is that the sense of community and the spiritual side of it, on how that's prevalent in each of the blue zones. How much does that actually affect your longevity? And
So
I think it's.
okay.
Go ahead, Joseph.
I was gonna say, so there's a Venn diagram on the Wikipedia page for blue zones, and covering 3 of them. So there's Loma Linda in California, Okinawa, Japan, and Sardinia, Italy. And the list that, or the group of all 3 of them, lists family, no smoking, plant-based diet, constant, moderate physical activity, social engagement, and legumes.
Legumes, yeah.
So, I thought
Yeah,
that
and
was
that,
pretty
that
interesting.
constant moderate physical activity is huge, I
Mhm.
feel.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like that's a thing that not a lot of, well, I mean, I'm generalizing, but not a lot of Americans get, especially if you have like an office job where you
Mhm.
kind of, you get up, you drive to work, you're sitting, you get to work, you sit all day, you come home, maybe go out to eat, you're sitting, you're just constantly sitting, and that sedentary lifestyle really, degrades your body after a long time.
Oh,
It
for
definitely
sure.
does. And I mean, no amount of like, if you, I know it's popular in the U.S. is to do like a very intense exercise for like an hour and just be like, oh, okay,
Hmm.
that like gets me by for the day, and
That
like
covers it.
there's no doubt that it's helpful, but
Hmm.
is it like as good as just like being on your feet all day?
Hmm.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, that's
Who knows?
that's why standing desks are becoming more of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to move your desk up and down so you can kind of get some of that. You're doing something,
Yeah.
as opposed to
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
sitting 24/7.
Yeah, because sitting is brutal. I think it stiffens your arteries. I think that's what the main thing that's bad with it.
Maybe this
Right.
doesn't feel good to be sitting for that long.
Yeah.
You know,
It hurts your
after-
ass.
Yeah.
The place that I interned at this last summer, they gave me a standing desk. I mean, I
They
used
even
it a couple
intern a
times.
standing desk.
Yeah, everyone has standing desks. Like it's crazy.
What the hell?
Yeah,
That's nuts.
budget isn't a problem for them. But it was nice. Like there's a couple of days it was like, I want to stand, so you just hit the button.
It was even a powered one.
Yeah, you had to plug it in.
What the hell, dude?
Yeah, yeah. It was
That's
a nice
how
one.
the desks are where I work.
Oh, are they
Whoa!
standing?
They're
Look at me.
powerlifting.
I've got a freaking powered standing desk.
I've never used it. I used it to raise it above the normal limit because it was so damn low. I felt like a child.
Oh, look at Mr. Tall Guy over here.
I
He
had
gotta
to raise it
his
to
desk
make it
up.
feel like a normal height.
foot, so I need it higher.
You could have just lowered your chair, Joseph.
Yeah.
God.
Then my knees hurt because they're above my waist. Fuck off! All right.
Joseph, this is the loving community that will put you
Yeah,
in the
this is
blue
the
Yeah.
zone.
social engagement that I need right now. We keep doing this, we'll all live to 100. 80 more years of podcasting, boys.
Eat shit, Joseph. Oh, I feel living like I'm gonna live longer.
Do you guys care about how long you live? I'm not saying that's a weird way to phrase it, but it's like, do you care about your own longevity?
Dude, if I live past 100, I'm gonna wanna die. Like, how much movement or activity can you really do, mentally or physically at that point?
These Centurions are fucking going hard every day in the blue zones, man.
At that point, you're like
Yeah.
the old lady
there's
from
people-
the SpongeBob episode who wants chocolate. You're just the
Chocolates.
fucking husk.
There's people, because Jacob and I were just watching, because the guy who wrote the book on blue zones or whatever, who studied them initially, he did a TEDx talk, I think it was.
Mhm.
Or he did a TED talk. Anyway, they had video and he obviously went there, and these people are still out and about
Moving.
chopping wood and they
Mhm.
ride bikes to work and they're
It's
they're
not like
still
they're frail.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
still moderately active. They're not.
Well, it's because they've been
No.
active every day.
Right.
Their body isn't deteriorating
Yeah.
because they're keeping up those muscles.
I think, for me personally, both of my sets of grandparents on the blood side, they're definitely a lot bigger and they're very sedentary. So it's just hard to I don't know. I'm not saying that every old person gets fat, but it's hard to keep active when you aren't as your body isn't as easy.
It just
Yeah.
takes more time out of your day to get that same
Right.
because you're not exercising as hard.
But I mean, ideally, you're gonna have more time to yourself, and that's also on them too, right? They have
Right.
the time to do the exercise and to eat healthier. They just choose not to.
Mhm.
It's their decision.
I mean, even something as little as going for a 30-minute walk every day is
Right.
huge.
Yeah, that helps
You
so
know.
much. But
I
it's
think-
also inspiring for me because I don't want to fucking end up like that. So
I think for me, I'm less concerned about how long I live, but again, with what Gabe was saying, but more how long my body lasts.
right,
Mm.
or your mind, dude.
Yeah, but either, I guess. It's like, I don't want to. I don't want to be a vegetable, you know.
You are
Too
a
bad you're already a
vegetable.
veggie.
No, but like in the
You're loving and caring, or
in
what?
the
What was it?
1960s medical term sense, vegetable. Where like I don't
Brain
want to
dead,
be
yeah.
completely sedentary where I can't do anything. You know, why? Not to say like why bother, but you know, I don't know. It just doesn't.
Mhm.
You're just using up resources at that point. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just doesn't sound enjoyable because I mean I can remember in the later years of my grandmother, I lived down the road from her, but like she couldn't leave the house to come visit. I mean we would go visit her pretty often, but like she couldn't leave her own house to come visit us or you know
Right.
pretty much do anything. It's like
Sounds
then you're just
awful.
relying on other people to come and interact with you. You know, you no longer
Mhm.
have that option to interact with other people, and like
Right.
that alone.
Right.
is-
Yeah. It loses a lot of personal freedom.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what's interesting too about the Blue Zones. They have this huge sense of community,
Mm-hmm.
and they do a lot of things together, and they respect their elders a lot. Like, it's
Mhm.
fascinating. It makes you really think like about that kind of mental health, physical health connection. You know,
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I feel like when you're alone for a lot of the time, you start to kind of just develop unhealthy habits.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like
No one to check you.
no one to check you, yeah, or no one else even in the room to like make you think about what you're doing, you know.
No.
So I wonder if that's part of it. It's really fascinating, and the whole religious side of it too is also interesting. It's like
Yeah.
I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of these these blue zones have a large religious or spiritual
Spirituality. Yeah.
spirituality in their community. So it's just fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is really what religion was, one of the big pros of it in like the early days, right? Like it connected communities that allowed them to work together and, kind of they all have one common goal that they can all unite under, and I think that's huge. So,
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
but
And,
what
and
I
going
think,
back to go ahead, dude.
I think that at least for me, like I get kind of intimidated. Like if I'm trying to like interact with someone who's like old that I have like no like relation to, it's
Mhm.
intimidating because 9 times out of 10 I'm kind of assuming that they're going to be like an asshole.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Because you stop
Like-
caring
Or like-
at that point.
yeah, it's like
Are
the
not up to date
stereotype-
on like current kind of
Yeah,
trends
so
and
it's-
stuff.
It's just so hard to have a decent conversation with someone who's significantly older than you.
Mhm.
Because I mean they're obviously born and raised in a completely different time than we are, and I think that they just, because not a lot of young people are talking to them, then they kind of get a bad idea about us, similar to how we get a bad idea about them because not a lot of old people are talking to us. So
Mhm.
it's just kind
Mhm.
of like a repeating cycle that is, I mean, it's pretty shitty, obviously,
Yeah.
because it alienates, like the elderly from the young people. So,
I mean, I think it could also be tied to how America specifically like treats elderly. Like the way it works here is when they get old, you throw them in a home and then you pay someone to take care of them.
Mhm.
You know, like it's got to get pretty lonely. Like my grandpa died like probably 2 years ago, and my grandma's like sitting out in a farm by herself every day. Like, I can't imagine what that's doing to her mentally. You know, like
Mhm.
it's so hard to keep yourself engaged in life, both physically and mentally. You know, and
mhm.
I mean, my dad does check up on her like at least once a week, but still, like, it's just very common for our culture to just kind of like, I don't know,
Push
leave
them to the side.
leave them to their own
Mhm.
devices, because
Yep.
Yeah.
but that's also a problem with like, my dad's a super fucking busy guy. Like he's the only one that's from their of their sons that's nearby, and he's so busy he can't even he doesn't have enough time to help her. So there's
Mhm.
a lot of problems at play there. But
Well, and you can draw that again to like the working culture of America, where
Mhm.
right,
Yep.
exactly.
it's expected for you to work at least minimum 40 hours a week, right, to sustain yourself for the most part. Like a full-time job, 40 hours a week, and if both parents are working,
Yeah.
there's that, and then like for you to then take care of another person or like be around another person that's not in your immediate home all the time, like
Yeah.
that's ridiculous asking. And then to like retire when you're what, 65 I think is retirement age, 62, 65, something like that, like, and then by that point, like, how many 60-year-olds, how many of their parents are still alive, you know,
Yeah.
Right.
where they have the time to take care of them, and you know, it's
No, it's definitely a vicious cycle.
yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of it just comes down to Western culture is just, it almost disincentivizes. Is that a word? Disincentivizes?
Yeah, disincentivizes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. It disincentivizes like these blue zone communities, right? Because I mean, it requires a completely different lifestyle than traditional Western lifestyles. Because I mean, like Jacob was talking about, sitting all day at like your office job, working 40 hours a week, and then once you get home, you just like watch TV, like, you know, I'm stereotyping the traditional Western
Yeah.
lifestyle.
So that's what I do.
Yeah, but you know, that gets rid of the physical activity, that gets rid of the community, because I mean, if you're not talking to people and you're just going home and you're watching TV for, you know, 4 hours each night or whatever or more,
Yeah.
then it really disconnects you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
We're just not set up to even switch to a blue zone style lifestyle. It's like, it's hard. It's hard to do a lot of things, but it's hard to meet new people. It's hard to feel like you're in a community. It's hard to have a job, honestly, where you're doing that much physical activity, you know? Because that's
It's hard to
part
have
of,
a
like, worse-
well-paying job.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. It's hard to have a well-paying job that you would want to have that also includes that much physical
They'd
activity.
want to have for a long time.
yeah.
Yeah, and because like that's kind of one of the goals of society is like to move towards automation. I feel like, you know, maybe people don't like that, but like that's kind of where things will end up going.
I mean,
So
that's
it's
how
less
it's
and less
been
burden on
since-
humans.
Since jobs began, was to make things easier and faster.
Yeah, because it's all about increasing efficiency and increasing profits, and that's automation just automatically does that. So that just makes humans more and more sedentary. I feel, and we'll end up all in Wall-E chairs. But like, yeah, and go back to community. Like, you only really see your family and your work coworkers. Like, that's a lot of it. Maybe you're in a club, like a sports thing outside, or you have a thing you go to on a weekly basis. But I feel like even that's kind of hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, that's the part that I found the most interesting, was social engagement is also listed in all three of those locations. And just how social groups are. I mean, I think that when our house was, you know, like in college, we had a really good social group. But that obviously changes when you have physical location differences, like at jobs and like I think it also comes back to like how much you work, right? Like it's hard to spend time with your community when you're like working your ass off all the time.
Yeah.
You have 40
Well,
hours a
correct
week that you're
me
working.
if I'm wrong, but pretty much all the blue zones are considered like not like developmentally modern, like from society sense. Like, 'cause we were watching that video, Joseph, and they said like the place in Italy was like in the Bronze Age of technology. I don't know if that was, it was something like that. Like, they're not like,
they meant that like that's when that community started.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like they're not like groups of like indigenous people.
No,
These are people
What
that they're modern, except they're not using
Western
a lot
ideals.
of the Western ideals and just like technology and stuff like
yeah,
that.
so
like
that's
how
what I was
we
getting
are.
at. Is there's just kind of less technology in those areas. There's less to distract or less to take away work, I guess. Because I feel like a lot of the jobs people have aren't like, you know, quote unquote modern jobs.
Yeah.
Like
maybe
service
one guy's-
jobs.
Yeah, like, you know, maybe one guy's job is to like chop the wood, you know, or I don't know. I might be just not informed enough to talk about what I'm trying to get at here. But I just feel like they're not as like, you wouldn't look at them and be like, oh, that's a modern city, you know.
Well,
Right.
I feel like the social engagement nowadays, and I don't know how it is in those communities, but it's like, it's as weird as it sounds, it's like decentralized, right? Where like you don't go out and like hang out with people as much as you do just go on the online and like talk to each
Yeah.
other. And that
I mean,
just
people
kinda-
meet on dating apps these days, and it's not like going out and actually trying to meet somebody.
and it comes
in
down
real life.
to it's just easier, you know.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to get rejected when you don't even know it, like Tinder, than it is to like get rejected in real life. Or it's way easier to send a text and if they don't reply, whatever, versus like seeing someone get, you know, awkward around you when like you're talking to them or something like that.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about? Like it's just easy.
No, yeah, you're totally right. You're totally right. Speaking of dating apps, I actually deleted Hinge the other day. So I was just like, it's just not. I don't know. I think part of it for me was just like I don't even know what I fucking want right now.
Hinge will see you in 2 months.
When I'm lonely again.
Yeah, it'll hit, and you just be like, all right.
I think one specific thing that I wanted to talk about with the blue zones is, I mean, I know Gabe was kind of talking about it, like with the community aspect, and I remember reading a while ago that basically, like, all right, so this is going to be assuming that our listeners are up to speed in that thinking humans evolved from they evolved. They're not from how do I want to word this?
Be careful.
Intelligent creation. Is that
intelligent design?
Intelligent design
sounds like a fucking lie to me. All right, don't go spreading these heathen beliefs, Dayton.
I'm just trying to not offend anyone when I'm talking here.
You're speaking from the evolutionary theory.
Yes, and
the Earth is
as we
4,000 years old. All right.
Hey,
that
Joseph, how about you lick my butt?
Pound
saying Dayton.
Anyway, so as we were evolving, our communities weren't much bigger than like 100 individuals. So as we got past that, you know, our brains haven't evolved that much in the past, like, I don't know, I'm just going to throw out a number, like 100,000 years or whatever.
We're monkey-brained in a modern world.
Exactly. That is a fantastic way of putting it. So, like, when you throw us into a place like New York City, right, which is absolutely huge, and of course they're not going to, like, New Yorkers aren't going to have, like, one big community. Like, that's why you have all, like, the different, like, boroughs, and you have, like, Chinatown and places like that. And it kind of compartmentalizes all, like, these little communities inside big ones, because that's, like, the only way that you can actually get that community aspect of it. And I think this was either last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Minneapolis and how we thought that a lot of like the crime issues there were kind of related to people not feeling connected to their community. And I just think that's interesting. I don't know if Minneapolis has like the compartmentalized areas in it.
I'm sure it does. I'm not one to speak on it. I mean, we just live here, but I feel like we don't know that much about the city.
I mean, there's definitely different like regions of it.
There's like different neighborhoods, but like on how much people like identify with their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So like I'm from the south side, you know.
It's definitely not. Yeah, like you know, like in New York, like you know, like the Bronx versus Brooklyn versus Queens, like. You know,
but it's very
downtown,
territorial.
like,
but even so, like if you're from like Brooklyn or whatever, Brooklyn is still huge. Like
yeah,
you're not gonna know everyone there.
No,
I think
but
it's
like there's
harder to find those communities in bigger areas, like you were saying though. Like you see those small towns, like everyone knows each other type of a deal. Like even Tech, if you take Michigan Tech as a school versus Michigan State, you see a sense of community is bigger at Tech than it is at Michigan State.
Well, that's because there's no one else for 100 miles.
Like that's what I'm saying though. Like you're forced to, right? Like
it's not that the community is small; it's that it's isolated. I think is a big part.
Yeah, people don't go and visit home like every weekend like they do at other schools because it's too
right. It's not
away.
A community university.
Right.
That's the best part about Tech, in my opinion, is that nobody leaves.
You don't have to visit your family.
You're stuck here, damn it.
Fuck my parents.
You're forced to make friends, and like you're forced to have this sense of community. You know, like we're all in this together kind of a vibe. You know, nobody's kind of chicken.
Is this High School Musical coming out?
Oh baby.
Well,
I'm not a singer though. I'm not a singer. That's for Gabe. That's for Gabe.
Yeah, Gabe, come on, sing.
Next episode.
I think it's interesting because I've been thinking about because like I've been saying with my like nutrition journey, it's like it's so fascinating to me that like humans have been around for a long time, right? No matter which theory you subscribe to, they've been around for a long time, right? And we survived way back in the day when we didn't have, you know, modern
Cheez-Its.
Food science. Yeah, Jesus. Like we were able to be.
Don't talk shit about Cheez-Its, all right?
we were pretty damn healthy just eating plants and wild, game or whatever. And yet we've kind of over-scienced ourselves into this like fucking bullshit food-like substances that we now eat. And I wonder if it's the same with community, where like we were just fine back then and we had smaller communities and we were probably healthier, and maybe that's another part that's kind of degraded, where like when modern science thinks about health, I feel like it's like going down to the molecule and like, oh, what medicine can we do to change this one specific thing or this gene? And it's like, we should just go back to basics, like eat okay, exercise okay.
Anti-vax.
I was
Who
just
the
gonna
fuck-
say.
Yeah,
Anti-vax.
get rid of vaccines.
Dude,
Who
I had
needs
one in the
modern
chamber.
medicine?
God fucking damn it. Not that back to basics, you know what I mean? But it's like, go back to like the basic tenets of like survival, almost. I don't know, that's probably
No
too like,
vaccines.
it's too hippy
Rather
dippy, but you know
live
what I
or you
mean.
die.
Yeah.
Go back to basics. I feel like communities is a thing that people don't think about as part of human health, but I think we've forgotten about how important they are.
I don't think our culture is capable of reverting back.
No.
No,
I don't
it's-
think on the
Me
large scale
personally,
it is.
there's no fucking way I'd be able to like, all right, you're gonna lose your phone, instead you're gonna chop wood. And
That's
then
not what I'm
but
fucking
you're
talking
gonna be
not-
happier. Like I couldn't
That's
do
not
it.
necessarily what it means, though.
I
like-
it's hyperbole, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
But it's like when people think about being healthy, I don't feel like a sense of community is in that discussion. It's not something people think about.
They don't add the mental aspect, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that
interesting.
mental health is taking more of a forefront as of late.
Speaking of mental health, on this Wikipedia page on Blue Zones, it mentions that Icaria, Greece has almost no dementia found in any of the centurions, which I thought was really interesting to show like how, I mean, obviously like there is less genetic diversity because these are these tight-knit communities, but still like that's a part of like your health and like not as much like genetically like predisposed.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like I'm sure it is to an extent. Like, don't get me wrong. There's leading factors, but yeah, like lack of heart disease and like cancers and stuff like that is like just incredibly reduced.
95% of that is diet and exercise related. I mean,
Yeah, I
there's
was just
studies
about to
that
say that like most of heart
Yeah.
disease is diet related.
Yeah. Like if you just eat, if you're conscious about what you're eating and you exercise a moderate amount on a daily basis, you're gonna be more than fine.
Yeah.
You know.
I think
That's a lot to
exercise
ask, though.
is hard for people to do though too, because like, for example, the IRC at Michigan Tech, there's an elevator. It's very quick, but
It's the
people will-
fastest elevator on campus.
It
I'll
is.
fight anyone on that stat.
But I'll see people take it to the fucking second floor. Like,
Yeah.
They can fuck right off. They can fuck right off. And also the third floor. If you're going the top next two floors up, take the fucking stairs.
my
Fourth
rule
floor
is fourth floor. Depending on how I'm feeling, I'll take the elevator. But most of the time, I'll walk up to the fourth.
Yeah,
The only
it's-
time I took the elevator to the second floor a handful of times, and it's because I was on crutches.
That's fair.
And let me tell you, I made all those people feel bad.
You just like you stop and you look back at them and just like shake your head.
But it's one of those things, though, right? Where like it's so easy to just hit a button and let it take you up, versus just a conscious choice. Like, I mean, walking down from the parking lot, it's an exercise on its own.
Yeah. Well, I think back up is more so, but
Yeah, no, for sure.
back
but
up the hill. But
still,
yeah.
like, it's sad to see people like just not, we'll take it to the second floor. Like, I beat them every fucking time. Like, just fucking walk, because you're spending more time just waiting, and it's
I feel like it's just on autopilot though.
and it's one of those small changes, though. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna make you live longer, but it'll definitely
It
like,
It might.
It might influence
Unless
your
you
habits
are
now,
really
which
bad
then
with
you carry
stairs.
on and it
right.
makes a
if
big
you
old
do
chain
that
reaction.
for 4 years straight, like that's definitely gonna make a difference. Versus,
or the
I mean,
rest of your life.
like,
yeah.
there's people that are pretty klutzy. If they're bad with stairs, man, that could end their life really damn quick.
Well,
One
that's
wrong
selection.
step and they're
Right. That's
they're
what
down on
thinking,
those
is
those
like, oh, I
marble
could trip.
floors. Yikes, or whatever, those hard surface floors. Those won't
Asbestos
deform for you.
tiles.
Yeah, asbestos. Gotta
But
prevent fires
there's a
somehow.
lot of small changes you can do. even in like your daily, even like an office environment that you can do to like get some exercise in. I don't think that the office culture is built for accommodating that type of like the type of exercise that you need.
I would
it's not
argue
like
that newer companies are that
yeah,
they're starting.
and you get those standing desks, and you know
They're starting
that.
to accommodate it a little bit more, even with like more flexible working schedules.
Right.
But it's going to take a lot to get out of the whole 40-hour work week idea
That's
Like,
never
until-
going to change.
until
from a money
automation
perspective.
hits hard.
There's some studies that say that like 4-day work weeks people are actually more productive.
I believe it.
Because they realize, well, A, they get a 3-day weekend, but B, like they feel like they have less time, you know?
Oh, so they work harder.
They work harder to meet those deadlines. And there are times, you know, where, especially when people are doing like 4-10s or something like that. Like if you tell me you're working fucking 10 hours straight without any breaks, like consistently, you're a fucking liar. Like there's no way. You know?
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
need breaks, and that's just not how people are meant to work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know at least for me, like if I'm busy at work, time goes by way faster, and I don't
Oh,
even
yeah.
realize that time is going by if I'm
Mhm.
like focused on some tasks. But if I'm like sitting there and I'm just like, oh, like I don't have a lot of stuff to do right now.
5
It just
minutes
feels like
have
it's-
gone by.
Yeah, and it's just dragging. So it's like from that aspect, like yeah, I mean it makes work, which I mean for me, I work to live. I don't live to work. So like
Mhm.
I don't. If the amount of time that I spend thinking about work is less, then I'm happier. Like
Yeah.
simple as that.
I think that's also a mentality issue, or a mentality difference between our generation and others, though.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to, not that like I'm not semi-passionate about my job, like I don't fucking hate the field that I'm in, but I definitely do it so that I can pursue the things I want to in life, you know? Like
Exactly.
there's
Yeah.
got to be a balance, and there are people who don't see it that way too, so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna switch gears here because I want to talk about something. And you know, when we first started this podcast, I was like, let's just keep politics kind of on the back
I know
burner.
where this is going.
But I'm worked up, Joseph. I'm
We
worked
already
up
talked about it, Jacob.
I'm worked up about China. All right, China fucking sucks, and I'm mad at them. Okay,
Yeah.
a lot of shit has gone down the past few days. All right. First was this NBA thing. Are you guys familiar
Whoa,
with
that
this?
is not first.
What are you gonna start with, dude?
The
Well-
Hong Kong protests, which have been
Oh yeah,
going
sorry.
on
Well,
for
that well,
months
yeah,
now.
okay, sorry. That's
That
that's
was
like
assumed
relates.
knowledge.
That's sorry. That's we'll start with the Hong Kong.
Okay, well, first, you know, the Big Bang, if you really want to go.
Oh my gosh, Joseph.
So, and if I mess anything up, feel free to interject. But long story short, Hong Kong has been protesting for I want to say months now, right?
It's been a while.
Against China because there was some government thing that was like Hong Kong people are gonna get extradited to China for like punishment or jail time.
Yeah,
They're like,
'cause
we don't want to
for
fucking
people
do
who
that 'cause we'll
don't know,
die.
Hong Kong is separate from China, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
Hong
it's
Kong,
like
isn't
it's
it?
like its own country,
It's a
basically. It's like a
city-state.
It's like the
yeah.
Vatican City, where it's separate, but it's like semi-owned. It's like semi-part of China, but it's like considered separate.
so,
So
yeah,
my
same thing
understanding
with
of, like,
Macau.
The bill that they were trying to push is like if you took a vacation in, let's say, the United States, and they felt you were doing something illegal, they could send you back to Hong Kong and prosecute you.
Yeah, send you
that's my
to
understanding.
Chinese like prisons and
Right.
get your organs harvested. Anyway, the Hong Kong people did not want that. They were like, China, get the fuck out of our business.
Hmm.
So they've been protesting for a long time, and it's now they're trying to protesting to be a completely like free, like democratic nation, as far as I can tell. Anyway, so that's been happening for a long time. Then there's this NBA thing that happened the other day. So the NBA is really popular in China. It's a big market for them, big money maker. And one of the the Rockets, Houston Rockets coach tweeted the other day, I support Hong Kong, free Hong Kong, yada, yada, yada. And then the NBA came out with the statements like, he does not speak for the entire NBA. And I don't know if he might have gotten fired. I don't remember. I think there
I
was
don't
some sort of
think he got
punishment to him.
fired.
Okay, well
'Cause
anyway.
there's so much
NBA's
money
like-
in it, right?
Yeah, the NBA's like, he doesn't speak for us, but China was still like, hey, this guy, I think China was like, you need to fire him or else you can't do anything in China anymore. We're not going to broadcast the Houston Rockets games anymore.
They stopped broadcasting the games. They pulled merch off the shelves. Like, they fucking
Do you see they did
blacklisted.
that shit with South Park too? Like they made an episode like criticizing them, and now they're not showing any South Park in China.
Yeah. So China has been trying to censor it, and then I think recently, maybe it was today, the NBA was like, you know what, we do stand for freedom. Like, kind of fuck you, China. So then, on another part of this was this whole Blizzard situation. So, Hearthstone is a video game where people compete in tournaments, and Blizzard is a company that makes the game and they run the tournaments.
It's an electronic card game.
Yeah, it's an electronic card game. So one of the players in the tournament is from Hong Kong, and after he won his game or the tournament, I don't remember. After he won, he was getting interviewed by these two guys, and they go to do the interview, and he's wearing one of the masks that the people of Hong Kong who are protesting wear, and he said, you know, free Hong Kong, I support Hong Kong, this is like the revolution of our time, and they cut the feed on it. Then Blizzard, who ran the tournament and again owns the game, said, you know what, we're not going to give you your prize money, and you're banned from playing in any tournaments for a year. Also, the two people who interviewed you are fired, and because you broke our rule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the two interviewers got fired, and Blizzard's like, you broke a rule of the tournament which says you can't say anything that's essentially could offend people, was pretty much the rule.
It's so open to interpretation.
Very,
It's
yeah,
their own-
it was
That's why
very
they like
open.
it. That's why they like
'cause
that
it's
rule.
to their own decision, right? You know, it's like their own
And
version.
so that happened, and there hasn't. So then, since there's been a ton of backlash against the company because a big Chinese company has a 5% stake in their company. Also, China is a huge market for their games. There's a lot of money to be made there. So the idea is they had this severe punishment because they don't want to alienate the Chinese market. And yeah, the American and I guess the global feedback has been extremely harsh. Everyone's trying to boycott the company, boycott playing their games, boycott going to their conventions. One of their top players and like sportscasters quit today, quit Blizzard, or quit his relationship with Blizzard. So there's a ton of backlash. Kibler.
I don't know.
He was a big Magic player too, but anyway, he's been in the Hearthstone scene for a long time, and he commentates their tournaments, and he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna work for you guys anymore until you fix this. So there's been a huge backlash, and what I'm all getting at here is that China sucks because they are a massive, massive, massive market, and they have so much economic power over not even just like America, but the entire world, because everyone buys Chinese products, and there's just so much money to be made there. If you can sell a product to the Chinese market, like a third of the population lives in China, so it's just easy money. Like movies recently, I don't know if you've noticed, but like the two most recent Transformers movies were filmed in China because China gave them subsidies to film there, and then there was like Chinese advertisements in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was, they specifically. Here, go ahead, dude.
The Chinese market like loves those like really like actiony like high intensity movies, like Transformers are. Like they just freaking love those movies.
Yeah, or Fast and Furious. Anything that doesn't have a lot of plot, because I mean there's subtitles, but like the more explosive action, the better.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's all transcribed, right? Like it's not in Chinese.
Yeah.
Or
They
Mandarin.
dub.
Yeah, I don't think it's
them.
dubbed. Maybe they do.
I thought it was all subtitled. I mean,
I'm sure
what I'm
they're
talking about.
They're dubbed.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So like the movie market's huge there. There's just so much fucking money to be made, but nobody, and because of that, no business is gonna call China out on their bullshit, which is all these insane human rights violations. And we just have to go along with it because that's the way it's always been. China can't be stopped because of the amount of money they have, and it's just shitty. So I'm just mad about it.
And then
Remember
did you
when-
also see? Okay, you
Go
can go on.
I was gonna say, remember when the biggest thing we had to worry about was their third kid law or whatever? 2 kids.
Yeah.
The one
honestly.
child policy.
Yeah.
Third kid. You skipped a couple children there, Gabe.
Whatever.
But on satellite imagery, I forget like what organization it was, but they basically showed over the years that China has been basically putting like parking lots and shit like that over top of these like mass graves, or not even graves, just like cemeteries of like these indigenous people, to like erase them from history, basically.
I saw that,
Jesus.
yeah. And
Yeah, so
just,
it's not
it was
even just
parking
like they're
lots and
doing some,
something
like-
else, like prisons too, I think.
Oh, really? I wasn't
Yeah,
aware of that.
To
but,
like really drive in the FU.
When they
Yeah.
also
It was-
have the Great Firewall, which is like obviously a play
Yep.
on the Great Wall of China, where they censor anything that would be considered. I mean, it's not as bad as North Korea, from my understanding, but they censor information that could be considered,
Mhm.
I don't know, controversial to their
Yep.
and their terms, right?
yeah.
Yeah, and the people of China who live there, like, have no illusions about their privacy. They know the government knows everything about them, and they're kind of just like okay with it because that's how things are. Like there's a Patriot Act episode about the Great Firewall, and they interview people in China like, yeah, like we know the government can see all our stuff, and we're just like, all right, this is the way things are. Which is fascinating because like America.
I mean, it's kind of getting to that point now, except instead of a government doing it, it's just companies that are doing it.
Corporations, for sure.
Hmm.
Google
I'm
knows
sure-
more about me than I would like.
Well, I would say like I know Google and Facebook and Amazon know tons of things about me, but also I'll be honest, I don't really care. Like I'm getting there, like it's too inconvenient to not use those products, like,
Mhm.
and that kind of goes back to the Blue Zone thing, where it's like it's just more convenient to do things the quote unquote easy way.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what the companies want you to do.
Yeah.
They make things easy, so then
Yeah.
you just keep on using them.
Like, why do you need a USB stick when you can throw all of your data on Google Drive that we can read?
Mm-hmm.
Or like have your Google Photos that we can analyze.
Yep.
And
I
use
use
for our
I use Google
face detection
Photos, but like
algorithms.
they use face recognition like fucking nuts on mine.
But it's also cool.
It's cool because you can like click by face. Like you can click a face and it'll show you every photo that you have of their face. But it's also like, wait a second,
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it comes down to that convenience factor. Where,
Yeah.
like, people aren't willing to give up a convenience, even at the expense of their privacy. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
Well, I
Jacob,
guess. Yeah. Go ahead, dude.
my question to you is, how do you feel about supporting Epic now with all this China stuff?
So interesting thing about that. So Tencent
They're owned by
is this
Tencent,
Chinese.
Mhm.
Well, not they're not owned by
Well,
Tencent. It's 40% of their company is Tencent.
a large
Tencent owns 40%.
stake.
So what's interesting about that is, so Tencent has their fingers in a lot of pots. They're actually the people who stream the NBA games, and they're the ones who said we're not streaming any more Houston Rockets games. But
Mhm.
they also own a huge part of the video game market. I don't know if it's Tencent who has the 5% stake in Activision Blizzard, probably.
It is. I'm pretty
is.
sure.
But what's really interesting is that Epic Games came out today or last night and had a statement. They're like, we will not censor any of our players for political statements, which I cannot believe that Tencent. Well, I'm sure they didn't run it by Tencent.
They
But
don't
it's
have
like-
they don't have majority, so they have no say.
Exactly.
Well, they have a say, but they don't have any authority.
Yeah. But it's like, it's just fascinating because, like, yeah, Tencent obviously cares about censorship because they were the ones censoring the NBA games. So for
Mhm.
Epic to go out and say that when Tencent owns 40% of their company is a ballsy ass move. So I'm curious to see where that pans out.
It is. It is. It's gonna be very interesting to see how that pans out, and it might make me support them more than I already do, which is a 0. I don't support them at all right now. But yeah, we'll see how this pans out.
And honestly, I don't fully understand. I was saying to Joseph about this earlier. I don't fully understand the Chinese video game market because it's very weird. Gabe was mentioned the Great Firewall, and because of that, like they don't allow a lot of games in China. Like each game has to be like vetted. So I don't even know if like Fortnite is allowed in China. Like I'm not positive.
I'm pretty
on
sure it
that.
is. I mean, Fortnite, PUBG, League of Legends, Dota are all really big games.
Yeah.
I think it's when
CS:GO.
it starts having like political narratives. I like the Wolfenstein games. I don't think they're allowed.
Yeah.
And stuff
Well,
like
because there was a
that.
Rainbow Six Siege just tried to get into China, and they're like, well, you need to take out some certain like decorations in the game, like certain like environment, like art assets, and the team's like, okay, we'll do that so we can like put it
Get
in
more
China,
money.
and then the fan base is like, nope, fuck you, and the devs like, all right, well, we won't do it then. So I know not every game is there. I think Nintendo is like trying to get in there. It's really weird.
Well, it's especially difficult in China because over there, like, their culture is a lot different than ours. So
Mhm.
that influences how they play video games as well. Like, they don't see like having hacks or like exploits or anything like that on your game as like cheating.
Yeah,
Because
they
like,
don't care.
yeah,
'Cause
like they just give
it's
no fucks.
part
And
of
then
the
they,
game, you know.
yeah, and then they join like a game of like a lobby in like the U.S. or like Europe or whatever, and they just like
Fuck
are
on
just
people.
killing everyone or whatever, just winning just hand over hand, and it's because they're using these hacks, and like it's just really frustrating for people who don't use the hacks because they're just like, why are these people
It's not
doing this?
satisfying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, PUBG had that. There was a big deal for PUBG.
Oh,
probably a
PUBG
year
was
and a half
super
ago,
annoying.
because you'd get these people and they'd come in and they'd have auto aim hacks. You could see in the kill cams, like they'd fucking kill you stupid
Mhm.
far away with like perfect headshot accuracy.
Yeah.
And like a bunch of the people in the community and like on Reddit were like, hey, can we please like lock this fucking region so that like the US would stay with like US players? And they're like, no, that's racist. You guys are being racist.
Well, it's
No,
because wasn't
we just-
PUBG wasn't PUBG
PUBG.
owned by Tencent too?
PUBG Mobile is. I don't know about PUBG itself.
Oh, are they completely different entities?
Yes, yeah, they are.
Oh,
But
okay.
the big problem like that people were having is like, obviously you don't want fucking people to cheat in the fucking game, but their anti-cheat sucked balls.
Mhm.
So like, we'll fix your anti-cheat or region lock the game. They're like, no. They just said no. Like they weren't gonna do any of that. So it was really frustrating for a while. I remember a couple games that we played that just get.
I was trying to
geeked
find a
out.
stat about the amount of movie screens in China because there's some. I saw a crazy stat about a movie. I don't remember which one it was recently. About it was on so many more screens in China, but like so currently China has more screens than the United States. They have 54,000. The U.S. has 45,000 screens. But I think like
What is that per
we-
capita? Like China's way bigger than us.
yeah, so it's growing. The Chinese film market is in like a growing phase right now, so I'm sure that'll increase.
When you
but I
say
remember
screens,
like
is that like movie theaters? Like
no, that's the amount of screens that like
Okay.
so like for example like our
phones,
local theater might have like
TVs, computers.
no, I mean like when you go to theater it might have like 5 different
Oh, yeah.
you know what
Okay,
I'm
that's
saying,
what
screens.
I meant. I should
Sorry,
say.
yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember I forgot what movie it was. It was probably like a Fast and Furious something, but like, or maybe it was something not as big. But anyway, it was shown on like, let's just say, 400 screens in the U.S., but it was shown on like 9,000 in China. It was some weird stat like that where it's like the amount of money to be made is fucking insane. So like from a business perspective, like why would you not? Like why
Mhm.
would you not go to China? But it's like the moral side of it is just so fucked. But also it's like, I don't know. Investors don't give a shit, you know.
Yeah.
They care about those dollar signs.
It's almost
Yeah, I guess
like
my question with
money
all this
makes
is
the
like,
world go round.
I know. My question with all this though is like, okay, with Hong Kong, NBA, Blizzard, I feel like China has been really taking some hits in like on the internet recently from the United States, and do you guys think that this will affect anything? Like, do you think certain businesses that are more public might be more hesitant to deal with China, or you think they won't care?
No.
No.
And it goes back to the environmental aspect that we were talking about before. We're like, things aren't going to change until the money starts changing.
Yeah.
Like-
And it's also like we live in such a fast paced society and here in like the West where in the second that a big headline like that hits, give it 2 weeks and it's gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Brazil with the Amazon rainforest catching on fire and
Yeah.
stuff like
That's
that.
the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, it's
That
like,
got put out, right?
It was,
No.
That's why we don't talk about it anymore.
it's been on fire for like, I want to say like months, if not like years, and it caught big publicity, got really big for a little bit, and then nothing. What do you know?
hmm
Like,
Yeah, it's shitty, man, and it works. That's the problem. Is like that works. There's always some new thing. And I was talking to some of you guys last night about it with like Trump, where there's like impeachment shit going on, and it's like Trump will just light a new fire and go look at that, so you don't get so you don't look at the actual thing that's wrong, even though there's a million things that are wrong. But yeah, and it's just like it's the worst thing to me about China is like what can we do as like average people. Like I feel like there's
Nothing.
nothing we can do.
Half the shit we buy is from China, whether we realize it or not.
Probably more than half,
Go
honestly.
off grid.
Shovel your own coal to power your house.
Yeah,
Build your own
Coal.
equipment.
Who the fuck? Yeah, you're gonna start a coal mine in your backyard, Gabe?
That is
I
not environmentally friendly, Gabe.
I know. I picked a non-renewable on purpose.
Yeah.
You need to cast your own
You're
metal
gonna-
so you can build your own components and then build
You're
your
gonna
own
have
build your
a
own
coal mine?
computer with the ore that you fucking mine out of.
You have a coal mine in your front yard and a natural gas plant in your backyard.
There you
know?
go.
Look, it's like, even if you're like, I'm only buying from American companies, they're still manufacturing all their shit in China because
No,
it's
it's
way, way, way
outsourced.
cheaper.
It's outsourced.
Like that was the whole thing with the tariffs recently, where Trump's like, we're doing tariffs, but China's gonna pay for them, which doesn't make any fucking sense. And he's like, just in case it will affect the holiday shopping season, we're gonna push those back to next year. It's like, of course, it's gonna fucking affect the shopping season. That'll raise prices on everything if we impose tariffs on China. Like all three major video game manufacturers, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, wrote a joint letter to the government
Yeah.
asking, please do not do this because it'll raise up prices on our
Well, didn't they want to
consoles.
do one on video games? Oh yeah, it was because of the hardware.
Because they make their
and stuff.
consoles in China.
and they would have to
So
move
it's
it.
like
Yeah.
you literally cannot get away from China's influence on this country, which fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Until they fully get past the industrialization process.
What
Because
do
I
you
mean
mean?
that's like the reason why we use them so much, because they have such cheap labor, and that's because they're still in the process of industrializing their society, and like India's going through it as well. Except the big thing with China and India is that they're going through it a lot faster than like we did and like Europe did, because they're kind of standing on the backs of giants, so to speak. Like they can see what we've done, and they can just kind of take the technology that we've gotten and kind of build their society up from there. So they're gradually going from like a goods-based society to a service-based society, like the U.S. and like most of Europe is now.
But I feel like the reason it's so cheap in China is because they don't give a shit about their workers.
Yeah, but
Like,
that's
they
how
work
the
as
US
true.
does.
It's the
us.
same thing that happened to us.
Yeah,
Like,
dude,
Yeah,
you had, like,
but- yeah.
fucking 8-year-olds working at factories.
No, I know, but like we
Yeah.
were always, a democratic republic, and they're not. So I feel like it's gonna be a lot harder to like implement human rights legislature in China. I feel like nobody's gonna go for it.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like the people at the top would never do it because so much money being made by having their people work like dogs. You know what I mean? 'Cause I got,
until they realize that doing engineering and like tech work, like actual engineering of like the phones and computers and stuff like that, is worth way more than just running your workers into
People
the
to
ground.
death. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they're not gonna realize that for a long time. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
But it is broke.
I don't know. They're making a shit ton of money right now, so I don't know how broke it is from a top-down
Well, I
perspective.
think we were making a lot of money too when we were exploiting our workers.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens, I guess. But in the near future, it's pretty.
Are you saying history repeats itself, Dayton? Because that's some horse
I do hope Hong Kong gets liberated, though. I mean, they've been. That's a story that was in the news and then it went away, but it's coming back. So I hope that
How many people are
They
in
push
Hong
through.
Kong?
like population or like people protesting.
Yes. There's 7.3 million people in Hong Kong. That's not metro, that's just the fucking town. Interesting.
So wait, so Hong Kong's a city? I thought it was a country for some reason, like a area of land.
Well, it is an area of land.
I thought it was its own thing, technically.
It is. It is separate.
I was just
Mhm.
saying town just as like, I don't know.
It's like a
You're saying it was like
city-state.
but like, I don't know. No, it's like a country. It's like
It's
big.
I don't. Is it?
Look it up. This is where you see how ignorant we are, but yeah, it's on like the edge of China, but it's not like massive, but like it's sizable.
Wikipedia says
it's
Hong
more than just a
Kong
city.
is one of the most densely populated areas in the world with an overall density of 6,300 people per square kilometer. Damn.
Not gonna lie, that's not geographically where I thought it was. I'm just gonna
Americans
throw
are
that out
shit
there.
at geography. We're so fucking bad at it.
You ever see those like late night
But-
shows that are like point to North Korea and people couldn't do it. Shit's
But once you
weird.
get to like Asia and like the Middle East, people would just we don't fucking know, and Africa, I suppose too.
To be fair, that's not where I thought Hong Kong was either. So
It's not. I
China's
don't know. You guys
fucking
made it seem like it
massive.
was huge. It's not. I don't know. I would still call it like a city-state, a really big city, but I wouldn't call it like. If it were a country, it's a pretty fucking small country. Like,
Yeah, but there are smaller countries than Hong Kong.
are there?
Oh yeah, in Africa, I bet there is. Again,
I,
we're talking about a large point of ignorance here, but
I'm looking at a map of Africa.
This week,
I'm
4
looking at
people
Hong
talk
Kong.
about something like they pretend that they actually know what the fuck they're talking about.
Hey, I never claimed to know anything. All right.
well, listeners, go look up the size of Hong Kong for yourself when you decide if it's a city, state, or a country.
The size of
We'll end it.
Connecticut. Like.
We'll end it there because we're kind of going off the rails on what we definitely don't know. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next Monday. Don't forget to follow us on socials, Twitter and Instagram at EWF Podcast. And again, you can find a new episode every Monday on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.